Hello everyone, welcome to the video series on current affairs. Under this segment, we will analyze the Uniform Civil Code. In recent times, we can see that the debate on Uniform Civil Code has again started. This is evident from the recent introduction of the private bill in the Rajya Sabha to form a committee that would draft and enact a Uniform Civil Code throughout India. Earlier this month, the Law Minister Mr. Kiran Rijiju informed the Rajya Sabha that the states are empowered to enact personal laws that decide the issues such as succession, marriage, and divorce in their endeavor to secure a uniform civil code. Now, in order to understand uniform civil code, we need to understand the difference between criminal laws and civil laws. In India, laws governing the people can be categorized into criminal laws and civil laws. The criminal laws are rules that define criminal offences and regulate the trial of the suspected persons and fixes modes of treatment applicable to convicted offenders. Indian criminal laws are divided into three major acts, that is, Indian Penal Code 1860, Code of Criminal Procedure 1973 and Indian Evidence Act 1872. These criminal laws in India are uniform and applicable equally on all the people, irrespective of their religious beliefs. However, the civil laws are based on the individual's religious faith. This civil law is a body of rules dealing with private rights of the citizens and not the public at large. It is primarily concerned with the personal laws which govern the private relations between two or more citizens. These personal laws include matters of marriage, adoption, divorce, succession, and maintenance. India is a multi-religious and multilingual country where various religions like Hinduism, Islam, Buddhism, Jainism, Zoroastrianism, Christianity, Sikhism, etc. are followed. Hence, different personal laws govern different religions. For example, the Hindus, Sikhs, Jains and Buddhists are governed by the Hindu Marriage Act of 1956 in cases relating to marriage, divorce, maintenance, etc. The Christians are governed by the laws relating to Christianity and Muslims by the Islamic law. Now, before going further, let us understand what Uniform Civil Code is and its background. The Uniform Civil Code means a uniform personal law for all citizens of the country. This code will replace the existing religious personal laws in India with a uniform law that will cater to all the citizens irrespective of their religion. To better understand the origin of the debate on Uniform Civil Code, we need to go back to the time when India was ruled by the Britishers. For the convenience of their rule, the British had a single set of criminal laws under the Criminal Procedure Code, which is to be uniformly applied across British India. However, to keep the people divided and subjugated, the British government allowed deviations in some civil matters so that they could appease different communities and maintain the divisions in the already fragmented Indian society. It is because of the First War of Indian Independence in 1857 which sent a strong signal to the British to not alter the social fabric of India and respect the personal codes of Indians. This allowed the different religious communities to follow their own customs or social practices in matters of marriage, divorce, maintenance, property matters, succession, inheritance, adoption, etc. Post-independence, there was communal disharmony against the backdrop of partition. Also, the Confederation of Indian States was a very fragile combination that had diverse culture, religion, and practices. Thus, Indian unity could have been disturbed in case a mandatory provision of Uniform Civil Code was enacted. To avoid this situation, Uniform Civil Code was accommodated under Article 44 of the Constitution as a part of the directive principles of the state policy. Article 44 of the Indian Constitution states that the state shall endeavour to secure for the citizens a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. These directive principles of state policy contained in Part 4 of the Constitution were mere directions to the state. They were not enforceable by the court as it was not mandatory to follow these. They were merely positive obligations on the state which will help in good governance. This shows that although our constitution itself says that the Uniform Civil Code should be implemented in some manner, but its implementation is not mandatory. Hence, the debate on having a UCC for India still continues. According to Shri K. Munshi, a member of the Constituent Assembly, the whole objective of Article 44 is that as and when the Parliament thinks proper, an attempt may be made to unify the personal law of the country. Uniform Civil Code envisaged under Article 44 is opposed because it is considered violative of fundamental rights enshrined under Article 25 and Article 26 of the Constitution, which guarantee freedom of religion and freedom to manage religious affairs. Also, according to the Constitution, these rights are enforceable by the courts. Therefore, the debate here is whether Uniform Civil Code supersedes the right of citizens to be governed under different personal laws based on their religion or ethnicity. Further, the preamble of the Indian Constitution resolves to constitute India as a secular democratic republic. This means that the state has no religion and no person shall be discriminated on the ground of religion. This process of secularization is intimately connected with the goal of Uniform Civil Code like a cause and effect. Its implementation takes the nation away from secularization as the people feel personal laws are derived from their respective religious beliefs, so it should remain untouched and should not be interfered. Another reason for opposition to the Uniform Civil Code is the unification of tribes in case it becomes a reality. It is because the tribes in India are not homogeneous across the country. Each tribe has their own customs and traditions and they prefer to be governed by their customs. Secular procedural laws create an exception in this regard. Hence, to bring a UCC throughout the country in recent times would need an exceptional consensus amongst these communities. After discussing the grounds of objection to Uniform Civil Code, now let's discuss the reasons for which it is demanded in contemporary times. The demand for implementation of Uniform Civil Code is rooted in the personal laws which are favorable to men in the society. There are instances where these personal laws denied the rights of women or did not give them rights. For instance, men are always considered superior in personal matters such as marriage, adoption, maintenance, or even the succession. Before 1955, polygamy, which is a custom of having more than one wife at the same time, was common among the Hindus. When polygamy was abolished from Hindu personal law, there was an aggressive reaction by Hindu men. In the case of adoption, a Hindu woman is not allowed to adopt a child, and for that matter, she cannot even become natural guardian of her own child till the lifetime of her husband. In Islamic religion, husband is allowed to marry and have more than one wife, but the same rule does not apply to the wife, and if they do, they are treated as unchaste and impure. There are several laws which infringes women's rights, and one of them is triple talaq. According to triple talaq, a Muslim man can divorce to his wife by saying talaq thrice, and wife cannot do anything about it. India is filled with cases where husbands have divorced their wives over phone calls, messages, etc. Also, under Muslim personal law, a Muslim man is liable to give maintenance only till the period of iddat and not beyond it. These examples are illustrative enough to show the patriarchal nature of Indian society. To counter these shortcomings and overcome the discrimination and achieve gender equality, there is a demand to enact Uniform Civil Code. However, the most important point is how the implementation of Uniform Civil Code will contribute to women empowerment and upliftment of the status of women in areas like family and marriage. It is because the codification of personal laws of Hindus has not succeeded in eradicating gender inequality. For example, the Hindu Code Bill included progressive measures like women's equal rights of inheritance. However, it could not see the light of the day. It was only when the Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005 received assent from the President of India that discriminatory provisions regarding property rights in the Hindu Succession Act 1956 were removed. Now, let us take our discussion towards the views expressed by the judiciary through various cases over a period of time. Beginning with Shabana Begum case to the recent Shaira Banu vs Union of India case, the Supreme Court has emphasized the importance of having a uniform civil code. In the Muhammad Ahmad Khan vs Shabana Begum case, the Supreme Court dealt with the issue of maintenance under Section 125 of the Code of Criminal Procedure after Shabana's husband pronounced talaq against her. The court held that the Section 125 of the Criminal Procedure Code is also applicable to the Muslims and that even a Muslim husband is liable to maintain his divorced wife beyond the iddat period. While ruling on the case, Chief Justice Y.V. Chandrachud observed that the Parliament should outline the contours of a common civil code as it is an instrument that facilitates national harmony and equality before law. Despite this, the government did not address the issue and brought forth the Muslim Women's Protection of Rights on Divorce Act in 1986 to overrule the judgment in the Shabana case. In the Sarla, Mudgal and others versus Union of India case, the Supreme Court urged the government to have a fresh look at Article 44 of the Constitution of India and endeavour to secure for its citizens a UCC throughout the territory of India. Similarly, in the Lily Thomas versus Union of India case, the Supreme Court emphasized the significance of UCC in terms of succession. Also, in the ABC versus the state NCT of Delhi case, the Supreme Court held that a single mother of the Christian religion was eligible to apply for sole guardianship of her child without the assent of the natural father under the Guardian and Wards Act 1890 that had not recognized the right of Christian single mothers. Hence, in this context, the court pointed out the inconvenience caused in absence of a uniform civil code. Further, in the very recent Shaira Banu versus Union of India case, the apex court invalidated the practice of talaq ul biddat, that is, instant triple talaq. This ruling of the Supreme Court has given progressive thoughts enshrined in the Constitution precedence over personal law in society. Hence, they provided the answer to the question on whether a personal law can violate the fundamental right of any citizen or not. Well, after going through various cases, now let us see an interesting fact related to Uniform Civil Code. The fact is that there is a state in India that has a Uniform Civil Code. Do you know which state is that? The answer to the question is Goa. Goa is the only state in India where Hindus, Muslims, Christians are bound by the same law related to marriage, divorce and succession. As a consequence, in Goa, there is equal distribution of property between husband and wife and also between children irrespective of gender. All the Muslims who married and registered it in Goa cannot exercise polygamy and triple talaq. After divorce, the property is divided equally between husband and wife. This situation has arisen because when Goa became Union Territory in 1961, the Parliament authorized the Portuguese Civil Code of 1867. After going through the video, we can observe that since independence, debate on Uniform Civil Code has been going on. In Unification of the Personal Laws, an important question that arose was that the Uniform Civil Code is not just a matter of gender justice, it is also a question of how a nation accommodates its own diversity and also what will be the ingredients of the Uniform Civil Code. Therefore, the Uniform Civil Code will need to bring in such laws that strike a balance between the protection of the fundamental rights like equality and non-discrimination and the religious principles of the different communities that exist in the country. It is because any law cannot exist far from social norms and without social support. There is a risk of pushing people into seeking alternative community justice system like Sharia courts or Khap panchayats. Hence, a common civil code will have to be careful in its choices. Thank you.